Alright, I'd like to give you some critique on the photo design project. Let me just scroll through a few of these so you can see. I'll come back to these. I'll just go through them quickly so you can take a look at what your classmates are doing. Okay, so now I'll head back up to the top and we'll start with the cardboard box photo design anti-Hewlett-Packard campaign. All right, so a couple of things that I notice here. I really love that you hung the quotation marks off the edge of this strong line. That's awesome because that helps to not break up the strength of this alignment. So well done. That usually takes some advanced typography skills to know that that's a good thing to do. The design elements over here, the diagonal ones, they seem like they were an afterthought. I don't know how they fit in. They don't seem to be incorporated in. So think a little bit more carefully how you might do something that would repeat or be unified with the rest of the design. Also, I noticed this big apple, and I understand what you're doing. I think that you're kind of complaining about Hewlett-Packard and throw it out and let's get an apple. This is an old school apple, which is okay, but because it's so big and because it's so colorful, it really detracts. It doesn't seem like it belongs. So you might do just a simple, just a simpler shape without so many colors, maybe smaller. Also alignment, it's aligned here in the center. It makes this text seem center aligned even though it's not. So consider the placement of that. In fact, I wonder, because you've got this box here, this nice strong edge, I wonder about right aligning your text instead of left aligning it, because left aligning it only aligns it to the edge, and there's nothing there on the edge. So you might consider that. I don't know what the color scheme is. One of the requirements for this project is that you label the color scheme and the color swatches. So be sure you do that. I'd love to see some contrast in your text so that one idea, one word, one phrase, something pops out. Right now it's all the same. Okay, great. And the next one. Really love the lighting in this photo. Very, very nice. I would consider the composition. You've got the subject right here in the center. So think about you've got good lighting, think about focus, think about composition. Let's see. I don't know why you said red, green, and brick, because I don't see any red. I see that this looks brick to me and this looks green, but I don't see any red. Still, you said red, so maybe you need to rethink that. I'd love to see some unity in this text. Part of that would just be alignment. So where you put Zen Shin, he's kind of floating there. There's really good contrast in this size. I love that you made Zen Shin small in comparison to It Just Blooms. Let's see. The value contrast between these words, split complementary green, and this brick color is tricky. It makes it hard to read. Hang this quotation mark or get rid of it. When I say hang it, I mean make the A and the P line up. Okay, and in fact, I would line everything right there. Even some of this stuff you could align right there to bring it over, to bring it in. Okay, this one, you have really good white space and lead room in this photo. I love that. I don't like that you have center aligned your text. Also, I don't know what your color scheme is. Watch out for tangents. See how the fan is right up against the edge of the photo, and this leg too is right up against the edge. Actually, it comes off a little bit, but so it feels like it's congested in there. You might consider some focus difference, also some angle. This is a cool fan, but I'm not feeling it. Maybe if it was close up, cropped, something. Even if we didn't see the whole entire thing, if we could just see part of it, this is a really cool subject for a photo. So really highlight that. And then in your typography, avoid hyphens unless you're hyphenating a word like brother-in-law. And also some contrast here. And maybe this is a default kind of a font. I'm not sure why, but I'd like this your text to speak to me, to pop some more. And you might consider doing something different with these swatches. In fact, you've kind of got these bars across as swatches. You could use those instead of putting these little rectangles. Just label this teal and this red and this orange, and that will save you some clutter. Alright, I love the strong composition and alignment in this project. You might consider aligning your text with a strong place in the photo. So, for example, this superhero, he's really strong right here where he's vertical. So you might bring things over to that place. Let everything come up to that instead of aligning to the edge, which this isn't bad. I do wish, if you're going to do this, I wish that these were all aligned, and this too. Right now this text down here is just kind of floating. I wish the lighting on your photo was a little bit better. Right now the foreground, or the thing that's the closest to us, is the darkest, and that seems a little odd to me. Maybe you could make this photo work still, or maybe you could retake it if this is a figure that you've got access, if you have access to it. I sure wonder about having some text pop with white. So like if you want to highlight July 19th, and it looks like you do because you gave it a little more space instead of grouping it down here, try turning that white and just see what happens. I think that would really pop, kind of like this white pops on him. Disneyland is cornered. I sure wonder about taking Disneyland Resort, even this logo Disneyland Resort, and working it in down here so we don't have redundancy. And maybe you want that redundancy, and that's okay, but right now this Disneyland is pushed up into the corner and it's trapping some good white space that could be used more effectively. Alright, that is one cool bike. I wonder where you got this picture. Anyway, I really like the bike. I like that you did a little blurring, motion blurring to indicate some action and movement, some motion. You need some apostrophes, because if you say it's, then this means it possessive. Okay, and this means it possessive. You need an apostrophe to indicate that it means it is on both of these words. Your bike needs some lead room. It's really trapped. It's right up against edges on 1, 2, 3, 4 sides. So if there's more photo here, please give it to me. I want to see somewhere, especially in the front, it needs some space. Now if your photo doesn't have space there and you can't get another one, then you'll just have to make this one work. But this would be a good example of where we could use some lead space. And the rule of thirds here too. Nothing, well, maybe there's some strong line here on that third. Let's see, color. I have a question about color. I wonder if your color is competing for attention. In fact, there's a lot of things that seem like they're competing for attention. Freedom to Ride with 3 exclamation marks. Burn Rubber with this cool logo. The big bike here, and then this little saying. I'm not sure which saying to look at. They both have a similar visual weight because this has more words. This is bolder. This is very heavy. Of course, the photo I look at first. But then this 1, 2, 3. These 3 things all are commanding similar attention. You could use some alignment. You've got a strong line over here and a strong line here, and then this is kind of floating. The typography is clashing right now because you've got two sans serif fonts that are similar and just a little tiny bit different, and so they're clashing. I would use one. In fact, I like this typeface better, unless especially if there's a bold version or a black, heavy version of this, then I would go with that. That's about it there. Oh, one more thing on this one. I wonder if if this project was turned portrait, so tall instead of wide, if you could get more out of this photo, we'd be able to see the bike bigger, and there wouldn't be all these stripes competing with that. Okay, this one, the Yoda is very cute. I think that could be a strength of your message. I am a little unclear what your message is. Are you trying to inspire us with Yoda's profound thought, or are you inviting us to a yard sale? Yoda, a toy Yoda with a tag on it coming out of a cardboard box, makes me think there's something more to this than inspirational thought. I don't know what your color scheme is. You need to label your colors and your scheme. You've got great lead space here in front of Yoda and the rule of thirds. Your typography, though, really needs to be united. It really needs to be aligned. It needs to be strengthened. There's so much similarity and difference that it's distracting. This font isn't exactly the same as this Star Wars font. It's similar, and so they're fighting a little bit. I wonder if you didn't use the Star Wars font on everything, if that would be better. I wonder if this Star Wars logo is even necessary. I think we know this is Star Wars, at least most people do. So maybe keep your quote or part of your quote with this font and do something different here. Don't use a hyphen, since we're not hyphenating the word. And again, I strong alignment somewhere, maybe here where Yoda's standing or something. Okay, here's the next one. I really like this one because it's so clear and so easy to read and understand. It's simple. The lines are strong. The color scheme is simple. The only part that I'm wondering about is these words over here. I like that they're minimized, but they're not aligned. They're kind of crowded, kind of trapped. But I like the color scheme a lot, and I'd stick with it. I sure wonder about using this strong vertical for your alignment. So could this text move over here so that it was aligned? Another place that would be a strong place for alignment is this fire hydrant. It's a strong place in your photo. So what if all your text was right aligned to this invisible place, kind of in the center of this fire hydrant? Or if you flipped the photo, then you could left line it. But instead of just aligning it to nothing here, the text is aligned with itself, but consider aligning it with either an edge of the photo or the fire hydrant. This is a beautiful photo. Wow, I love it. I love that there's some focus contrast, so you've got something really highly focused, and then it gets blurrier in the background. There's cool colors here and very warm. Wait, that's not a warm color. Green is also a cool color, but still, the life in this green and I guess the really coldness in this bark it's just gorgeous. If there's any way you could really show this off more, make it bigger, for example, I would do that. As long as you don't lose all this nice white space, keep some of this white space, but I'd like your photo to be highlighted more. I don't think this is an analogous color scheme. Check your color wheel, but sky blue, green, and gray, I don't even think sky blue and gray are on the color wheel. So check that. Your text needs a strong alignment. Get rid of the ellipses. If you ever do use an ellipse, then it should be just 3 dots. But I just would get rid of them. They're messing up the strong line there. Some contrast in your text would be really helpful. Everything has the same weight. Nothing is popping out. A little tiny spot of color might really be strong here. Instead of this big swatch of green, what if there was a word that was green, or something maybe even aligned right here with this green things to bring that out. Really think about your composition and design. But I love the photo. All right, this one needs a color scheme. You also need some contrast in your type. Easiest way to do that is to make Gordon B. Hinckley smaller. Some contrast in your photo would be nice too. You did a nice job putting the subject on a thirds. And I would take the stroke off, and I'm not sure about this spacing here. Seems to be trapping, between this bar and this photo. There's some trapped white space in here. Overall, I'd really like some contrast in this project. Everything is kind of subtle and in the background. Give me something, a clear message. All right, this photo is just beautiful. I hate to say this, but this really cool design that you made is detracting from it. Also, I don't know what your color scheme is. These three colors, if I look at the color wheel, they don't really make a color scheme. So experiment with that. I like the colors; they're fine together, but they are pretty saturated and bright. Let's see. You do need to label colors and color scheme here. All the text is trying to be big. All of it's trying to say it's the most important. So give me some contrast. Decide what your one main message is. Is it Yellowstone National Park, or is it Be One with Nature? I like that you put some contrast here between Be One with and nature, but make that even more contrast. Watch putting stuff in corners. So you've got corner, corner, and basically corners all filled up. And so a lot of your good white space gets trapped in the middle of things. Instead, align things together. So this is one project where I decided I was just going to do some experimenting. I hope you don't mind, but I opened this up in my own software, I guess. Anyway, and I did a couple of trial things. I got rid of the stuff at top so it wouldn't distract. Made the photo a little bit bigger. I did the color schemes, and I did some contrast in the text and some strong alignment. So you don't do your project like this, but I just wanted to show you one way that you could experiment with the principles of design to strengthen. And I did 2 different color schemes. Okay, let's go back here. So anyway, that's that one. Very nice photo. This is another beautiful photo. I love the intense orange here and contrasting with blue. This is really a strong photo. I kind of wish you didn't have to do anything around here for this project, but I think just be more subtle. It doesn't have to be such heavy color blocks and stripes. On this one, complementary, be careful. It's spelled with an E right there, complementary. This is the wrong kind of compliment. It's like saying something nice to somebody, whereas the one with the E means it makes whole. It's a compliment. It's an opposite, actually. So watch that. I would really encourage you to work with your typography because it's aligned here, yes, and it's aligned here, yes, but why not bring these together somehow and give me some contrast so that the most important phrase or word or words, that they're highlighted, they're different. I bet you anything that white or a light gray, kind of like this gray in the path, I bet that would pop better on this background than black is popping. All right, so let's see. Decide one main message, watch corners, filling up corners. And I don't think I'd do double swatches. I don't think that's necessary. Keep this simple. Keep your swatches simple. Maybe even use these swatches that you've already got here and figure out something different there. your center aligning split complementary as well here. So rethink that part. But again, great photo. I like this photo too. It's very strong, really bold, and not very BYU Idaho-ish, which is okay. She's modest and everything's great. So very strong photo. And I think your typography is really strong too. You sometimes want to avoid all caps, but I think all caps is working here. I think it works great. I do wish that it had more space, that it wasn't crowding this edge, especially this text. It's crowded on this edge and it's crowded on this edge, and this is trapped in here. There's another example of spelling problems. I really love the contrast between the J.K. Rowling and the quote. That's awesome. This color scheme doesn't seem right to me. Black, red, and teal, blue, something. I don't think that's split complementary exactly. Just check that and label it so that I know what colors you're going for. Black also isn't on the color wheel. It's a freebie. You can use black with anything. Alright, first thing I notice is that the font you're using, although it may not be papyrus, it's enough like papyrus that you just should avoid it. Don't even go there. It's been done, it's been used, and I told you in class, don't use this font, okay? So try something different. You need some contrast in your typography. I don't know what the main message is without reading it, and for some reason I don't want to read it. Maybe it's the papyrus thing. But like this Thich Nhat Hanh, he should be smaller or different in some way. Also alignment. This is kind of floating. Nothing's aligned with anything. So give me some alignment somewhere. Here's this strong post might be a good place for alignment. The resolution of your photo doesn't look very good. You might go back into the original photo and see if you can get better resolution. It's pretty pixelated. The text inside of these boxes is crowded, especially right there. That descender is coming down and hitting that edge. So make it smaller. Think carefully about your fonts. I've said enough about this one. This is another one that might be overused and might be clashing with this one. They both have some decorative, scripty kinds of characteristics. So watch that. And give me some hierarchy. What's the most important message? I can't tell. I think there's some nice words and phrases in here that you could really bring out. Really like this photo. My only issue with it was I wish it had more lead room, because he doesn't have as much as I'd like him to have. He's not quite on the rule of thirds, but he's pretty close. And I'm glad I can see this car. You probably can't retake this photo, but if there's more photo available that you cropped out, you might reconsider recropping it. Also, you said split complementary and you put teal here. I sure think that you could go into Photoshop and give him some more teal. In fact, I did that just to see if I could, and I think that teal goes a little bit better with your color scheme. So that's just a thought. I wonder about editing this text. If you could get away with less text, and definitely do not center align it. Do not center align this text. Left align it to your photo to bring it together, but do not center align it. Get rid of the ellipsis. I don't think you need it. When he drives the car off the lot, it increases in price. He's the most interesting man in the world. And give me some contrast. All your text is the same. Nothing's standing out to me. Okay. Cool photo though, and awesome car. Wow. I love this photo too. It's beautiful. Really let it shine. I wouldn't cover it up with anything. Your text is kind of taking over. I wonder about editing this text down. Could the message be simpler if you just said, "It is upon the rock of our Redeemer, who is Christ, that we must build"? Okay, something like that. Really think about what text is the important here, and give it some pop. Give it some alignment. You've used a creative alignment, which probably works here actually pretty well, but it could also be stronger. I mean, you're talking about a rock. You're talking about Christ. You're talking about foundation, and it could be strong instead of kind of wishy-washy. In fact, why not use this rock or an edge of the photo or something for a strong line? You've kind of created a strong line over here. That might be a place you could try. Maybe right aligning your text to watch the spacing. Some of this text is really close, and because the descenders and the ascenders touch each other, then they feel crowded. The color scheme is nice. Yeah, it's pleasant. White is not part of a color scheme though, and you do need to label what color scheme you're using here. Okay, and this is the last one. I really like this one. I had to go in and resize it, and that's why you see all this funny stuff on the outside. But I like the contrast here between this big text and so the size and the font contrast well. I love that you were subtle with brick. Sometimes when you do a three-color color scheme, it's hard to work that third color in, but you worked it in here nicely and in this little line. Nice to not have that overpower. Sometimes just a little spot of color is stronger than a big swatch of color. Be sure you spell complementary correctly. Watch the spacing. I noticed that in between some of these hexagons there is small space, and between some there's big space. If you can even that out, that would be awesome. Same thing with these three lines. That might be really hard to do. You've done a really nice job doing this, especially if you did this in Photoshop, which is not an easy program to do this kind of thing in. I wonder what right aligning your text would look like. I see what you're trying to do here with the alignment and the wrapping this text around, and it works pretty well actually, but I would at least experiment with creating a strong line somewhere maybe over here and see if you could right align all your text to that. Just see what happens. Just curious. And that's it. Hope that was helpful.